I'm going to Melbourne. Like shaking planning this, and not just because shaking hands runs in my family. Wanted to do this because you guys might have seen my by myself video, which was published 11 months ago. Always wanted to travel solo interstate, and always envisioned myself doing that throughout my uni years actually, but because of COVID I never got to, and I honestly don't feel like I would have been really ready to anyway. It's just how I imagined my early 20s self living my life traveling. And I have way too much anxiety to be someone who will be like, I'm gonna go solo backpack around Europe for 5 months. I probably will never ever do that alone. I won't even backpack, let alone do that myself. This came about when last year, as I explained in that video, I wanted to do this, but I just didn't feel ready, and then there was a new wave of COVID, and I thought, why don't I just challenge myself by spending one night in my own city alone? And that was already enough for me. That was really nerve-wracking. I did feel like I had accomplished something, and I felt slightly more aware of what I could do by myself, but it still doesn't mean that I'm not terrified for this next stage, which is a weekend interstate by myself. And my motivations for actually booking this and actually going through with it was the fact that I arrived at my new job a few months ago. They said to me, you'll be traveling for work and you'll be part of a team that's organizing a national sales meeting. And if you don't know what that is, it's a thing that bigger companies do where they try to kick off the year with good rapport, with all these stats and, okay, what are we gonna do this year? We're gonna do well with our sales and all that. So I'm going to Brisbane in January, and I was like, there's no one here my age, and there's especially no girls at my company my age. Like, there's no one who's going to be looking out for me. Everyone sees me as an adult. Like, I am a young adult, younger than everyone at my company, but doesn't mean that they're going to take me under their wing like I'm 5. So that was what kickstarted me into actually booking this pretty much in my 2nd or 3rd week working at my company. I have quite a lot of travel compared to previous years planned for next year, and there is a chance that I will be traveling solo at different points in time. Not in terms of doing a whole solo holiday, but just maybe traveling in between meeting people or in between countries. Those could be by myself. So that's why I am using that as a motivation, because believe me, as someone who actually does enjoy traveling, this is not enjoyable to me. Like, doing this solo is so scary. There's no one to rely on. I'm only depending on myself and the Lord. Like, there's nothing that I can do. There's no one to keep me safe. There's no one to keep track of where I am or where my belongings are or anything like that. And I know a lot of this is actually irrational because I never lose anything. Like, I'm always keeping track. I'm very organized. I'm very persistent. I am quite adaptable as well. But it's just the fear that stops me before I leap into something. I actually have a friend who observed this trait of me once, that apparently I psych myself out of things before I've gotten into them. So I'm trying to also challenge that at the same time. The rest of the room isn't quite clean yet, but I've just cleared this space. When I first designed how I wanted this area to look, because this is the latest addition to my room, I actually left it so that my kind of more display convenient things like my Harry Potter books and my hair ties and everything else Harry Potter. That way I wanted a kind of packing bench so that I had an actual spot to put my bags as I was packing. So this is really handy for anyone who's, I guess, refurbishing their room or anything. I'm actually about to write notes of what I want to pack, because while I was cleaning the room, I did think of a few things like that you wouldn't usually think of, I guess. So I'm gonna do that now. I decided to write a full-on to-do list just then of literally just what I'm doing for half the Friday. So it's already that long. I went into a bit too much detail, I think. I don't think I'll have to be like that pedantic, but knowing my like anxious side of things, I really want to like feel like I'm prepared, even if I end up straying from what I planned. Found my MyKey, which is basically Melbourne's version of Opal. It's what you use to tap on and off for public transport. I don't think I'll be needing to use it just because I'll be very within the CBD, which is actually in this tram free zone. Why can't Sydney have free trams? I just registered it onto the MyKey app, and guess what? It expires in 12 days. Like, I'm going at the perfect time. Finally complete. This is a side packing list. Fridays, Saturdays, a little bit of scribbling, working out timing, and then Sunday, and more scribbles. I vaguely showed this in my getting out of a rut video, so it's on a basic level at the moment. You can see things like wake up, pack. So I'm going to be adding these notes in. One more sleep. I would say I'm about 85% excited, 15% nervous. I've almost finished packing my backpack. I just want to add a few more essentials in after getting back from leading Bible study tonight, and then I'm going to be pretty much set. What I'm kind of scared about is this room to fit my toiletries and also which toiletries to bring, because last time when I traveled to Byron, which was in the car, so it wasn't a big deal, it did leak a bit. I have to maybe choose different products and I don't really know what I want to choose yet. Every single time I check the weather, literally the temperature drops, and it's literally going to be raining on both days there. Tomorrow is apparently their best day out of the whole week, so it's going to still be like cold though, like it's still about 20 degrees, so that's still freezing to me. I haven't worn my thickest jacket that I wore all throughout pretty much winter this year in quite a few weeks now, so this is a first. I might even wear it today because Sydney itself is also very dreary and cold right now. It's quite windy, and how I would describe it is that during the day it's sunny but breezy, so I'm guessing in Melbourne it's rainy and cold and windy and everything. Just the other day, nighttime was actually quite warm, so like about 20 degrees, and now that I've looked at the temperature again, it's literally about 14 degrees at night. Like it's actually winter weather now, well, at least Aussie winter weather. So I don't know if that's gonna like ruin my mood, because what's worse than it being nice weather and being in a completely new state by myself? Probably better. Here is my airport fit. I have a Supre jumper that I actually bought from a Vinnie's, and then I have a Brandy Melville dress underneath. Are you gonna miss me? Oh. Bye, Mom. Bye. We made it. Airbnb tour because I am ahead of schedule. So here's the little kitchen. This is the outside view, which is so cute. Oh my gosh. And then a desk, a couch, and the bed. And I love this full-length mirror. I was really looking forward to seeing this. And then here's the bathroom. So it's just a toilet here and the showers like that. I'm just eating a little snack before I start on makeup. The worst part that I was dreading is over. The flight's done. I forgot how shaky planes can be as well. I was basically a very seasoned flyer up until COVID, so I just didn't feel like it was in my range of what I could do solo yet. That's over, and now I'm just in the middle of a city. It is unfamiliar, but it's a city nonetheless. My brain was automatically trying to make similarities between Sydney and Melbourne, like, okay, this looks like this street in Sydney. But I think I just need to embrace the fact that I'm here and having a really new experience. And I think something that wears me down and that makes me unconfident is me thinking I'm 22 and there's people who've moved countries my age. There's people who travel all the time by themselves. And I just need to not compare myself to other people who've had totally different life experiences to me. Like maybe they started flying to visit parents or family when they were really young. And most of my family's always been in Sydney. I've never had to do things like that. Like I've never had these essential visits. Every time I've traveled, it's literally for fun. So I feel like I need to just calm, gather my thoughts, but it's just gonna take a while. As I suspected, the photos made it look bigger than it is, but it's still really nice and cozy. Obviously, I can't complain considering there's one of me. So everything went smoothly. I managed to go to the lockbox, which was by the door, and keyed in the numbers and got my card. I realized I'm a freeze or fight person. I'm not really a flight person, I think. I think I always nearly get to being one, and then I'm like, no, I'm gonna stay resilient and follow through. I'm very in fight mode at the moment, so my brain is thinking, okay, what's the next challenge to overcome? And the next one for me is getting to the shoot on time and having to catch this Melbourne tram. I usually don't even catch the Sydney tram. I literally avoid it. And if you don't live in Sydney, we only really got it in our CBD about 2 or 1 year ago, really. So I am really not used to it. I like just avoid it. I prefer to walk around our CBD. The rule that I keep for myself is that a walk over 15 minutes means that I have to take public transport. So with this bridge that I'm meeting the photographer at, I think it's about 20 minutes away, which is why I need to catch the tram, and I'm just gonna force myself to. Collins Street, which is where I'm staying on, is very, very long. It's like a long street. I don't know if it's like their version of our George Street. It goes on for forever. Like the first building numbers that I saw when we first entered Collins Street were literally like 800 and I'm on 480. So I'm like, I guess in the middle of this street. I don't even know how it works. Here's the first outfit that the photographer wanted. So I've just had my, is this leopard print? I don't even know. And then shirt is from Kukai. This is from H&M. I'm just using the window lighting to show my actual makeup. I just did this really simply. I didn't even use Pinterest like I usually do for inspiration. This is basically just like if I had to do a go-to makeup look without using a photo as something to base it off of, this is just what I would do. So yeah, just did it really quickly. I always overestimate the amount of time I take to get ready. I'm like such a fast person in general. Why would I even take long to get ready? Okay, just took a bunch of selfies. Gonna leave now. Got about 40 minutes to try and work out this tram situation. This bee keeps buzzing around me. I literally can't deal. At least the weather's good. I've showered and gotten the makeup off my face. I'm just letting it breathe before I do the rest of my skincare for the night. I have my fairy floss. What it was meant to be was ice cream, but when I went into the IGA next door, I didn't really account for the fact that ice cream usually come in packs of at least 4, and it just wasn't worth the money, and I didn't know if I was gonna eat it. So I decided to get fairy floss because at least I can carry it home on the plane with me. It's so good. Ugh. No one in Sydney would let me buy this. After I left, I met up with the photographer. I was really early, but I used the tram all by myself. I did have to ask the guy there which side to go on, but other than that, it was all good. And so I was about half an hour early. I just sat there. We shot for a very long time. We actually shot from 6 p.m. all the way until 9 p.m. So pretty much 3 hours. And we basically started off at Docklands, which to me looks like Barangaroo Avenue, then caught the tram up to the city centre, which is more like Chinatown. And it was really fun. We got along really well. I walked along Chinatown, which in Melbourne is literally like one strip. I was craving dumplings, but instead I got fake shark fin soup. If you're like not Asian or if you don't know what it is, I had it in Hong Kong, I think, where it's just this really nice thick soup with fake shark fin, because I think they used to use real shark fin, but it's like banned now. Like considered a Chinese delicacy. But the last 2 times I've had it in Sydney and here, they turn it into this murky color with lots of different things in it, like egg. I personally don't like it, but I had it anyway because I was craving soup and it wasn't bad. It wasn't as bad as the one I had in Sydney. So I had it and then I just walked along, and the photographer had given me directions just in case my phone ran out of battery. So I managed to do that without maps. And then once I got to the actual tram stop, I looked at my map and it said that it was an 11-minute walk back to here. So I was like, you know what? I may as well walk, like just for the heck of it. I feel really safe right now. Nightlife here is amazing. Like it's Friday night and it is bussin' here. Like everyone's out. Everyone wants to party, everyone's with friends. I don't think I've ever seen a normal Sydney night that lively. Electric scootering is illegal here, which Bill is gonna get so jealous about. I think a nice word to describe it is I felt very alive. Like I was smiling to myself because everything was so energetic and alive. Like our Chinatown in Sydney has been dead for years, even on weekends. A very lively busker with like very, you know, like music that gets you dancing. There was a huge crowd of about 30 people, and then a grandpa was dancing, a little kid was dancing. Like it was turning into a little street party. And then I walked just a little bit further down and there was a more quiet busker with like a guitar, just, you know, doing that kind of Ed Sheeran vibe song. I looked opposite him to these, like, where there were these stairs where you can rest on, and there were literally about 20 people just sitting there listening to him. And I was like, those two things happening in the same street, in the same block, would never ever happen in Sydney, like, separately, let alone in the same area, in proximity of each other. Like, what are the odds that both buskers actually have crowds surrounding them, because people want to listen and just enjoy their time. And it was insane how, like, happy everyone was, just like watching, listening. Like, it wasn't like people were rowdy. I mean, it was like 9:30 p.m, but like, people were just really into it. I think that, like, that put a huge smile on my face, but I was also really shook that that happened. Good morning. It's obviously a lot more gloomy today. It's all clouds in the sky, not a blue sky in sight. Here's today's outfit from Zara. I think I got it ages ago when I was a teenager, and I like to keep the tradition alive, going to the theatre with more formal outfits, like semi-formal, smart casual at least-ish. I know a lot of that allure of the theatre has gone in modern times and people go casual these days, but I like to still do a little bit of, like, more of a sophisticated theatre look. I forgot to add, I'll also be carrying it with this purse. I am dreading the weather. It's really cold. I have my thickest winter jacket, which I'm going to add on to this outfit. I doubt that I'm going to take it off all day, but you guys can just see this fit. This is actually my first time with my glasses on in a couple of days. I feel like this is probably the longest I've gone without wearing glasses. I wanted to talk about being alone and friendship, and I guess what I've learned in the past year since staying in the city by myself for one night. I basically stayed in Barangaroo in Sydney instead of doing this. This was always my original idea, going interstate by myself. But last year, I just didn't really feel ready, and then a lot of the COVID cases came in again. So I thought to myself, okay, I'm gonna postpone it and just put it aside for a later day. And I already explained exactly what triggered me to actually start booking everything. It was basically my work trip next year. Really come to appreciate sleep-ins, first of all. I guess that's what full-time work does to you. And my ideal Saturday morning is now staying in bed till 11 and watching YouTube. And that's probably my most introverted activity that I like to do. I still really, really enjoy talking to people. For example, yesterday meeting the photographer, I was like, oh my gosh, finally someone I've talked to in about 5 hours. So that was nice. But I do enjoy having time by myself, and I do enjoy writing more these days. I've only done it twice. I did it in one Christmas card and one journal entry. But I'm wanting to get more into doing physical written reflection again, because I feel like in the past year, I don't think it's that I haven't been reflective. I think I've gained enough skill to do, like, consistent and automatic reflection now. It's more that putting it from pen to paper really helps with not just memories, but also actually feeling creative. And so when I was alone in the city by myself 11 months ago, I was really scared and tense the whole time. And for me, I was only really tense until I met the photographer yesterday. Maybe that really helped with, like, actually seeing people, because for my night in the city, I didn't see anyone. So maybe there was that too. But it was nice to just really talk to someone, which I guess is like the extroverted part of me. And I actually feel a lot more relaxed here than I thought I did. Usually when I sleep in an unfamiliar place, I leave one light on, and last night I didn't even do that. I just challenged myself and it wasn't bad at all. And also, like, the city's bright enough that some light was coming in anyway. Usually I would do those kinds of things to kind of, like, put all these barriers up against myself just to protect myself from nothing in particular. But I have been trying to just, really, like, force myself not to do everything that my instincts tell me to. I'm a very instinctual person. I often just listen to exactly what I feel like I want to do. My uni friends who I was close with didn't really keep in touch with me as much as I thought they would. So that's something that I also had to wrestle with, and I felt a bit lonely at times. Doing a short degree and you've graduated before everyone else, it just seemed a little bit like they're still having such a free life, whereas you're working your 9 to 5 and you can't do as much. Like, if you want to go on a holiday, you have to take leave. You can't just use up the uni break. And it was more exacerbated by me planning my party and wanting it to be quite exclusive this year. It was basically 10 of my closest friends. And I think planning that and just thinking to myself, like, oh, who are my friends? Like, if I had to choose who are my top 10 friends right now, that was kind of like stressful in a way. It put so much like thoughts into my brain where I was thinking about friendship like literally 80% of the time, and it was getting so toxic just within my own brain. And then I kind of settled into this nice like healthy area that I'm in now. This time a year ago, I pretty much had a best friend, and we kind of just drifted away for reasons that I don't really know. And I've learned to appreciate the close friends that I do have. It kind of feels like a breakup without closure. I never really understood when people said friendship breakups are worse than romantic breakups. I always thought to myself, heartbreak's obviously the worst. I mean, friends always come and go, but a partner you think at the time is going to be forever. So why would a friendship breakup be worse? But I now understand what people mean, because you feel like there's no thought behind it. Why isn't this person still by my side and still a consistent part of my life? Especially because I am blessed to be in a 3.5-year relationship now. I'm grateful for that. Until the day that I get married, I'm always going to put friends, family, and my partner as equal importance in my life. And it just means that obviously some have to take priority over the other at different points. But when I get married, I vow to put Bill, or whoever my husband is, I don't know the future, as first in my life. As someone who's very extroverted, but also in her early 20s and learning what it's like to be a grown-up, I do need to learn how to be on my own, and this is just part of this journey. I also wanted to add, because last year, when I first mentioned this idea to a close friend at the time, the first thing they said to me was, I wish I had daddy's money. And I just want to say that pretty much besides Spotify, I fund everything in my life, from having $600 in my bank account just this time 2 years ago to where I am now. I'm so grateful that I am financially stable, and I still have a long way to go in terms of me wanting to be married in the next couple years and have my own property and all of that. But I'm very grateful that I've gone from literally scrounging around for money to where I am now. My parents have been very generous in that for birthdays or Christmas, they might transfer some money, but it's not like thousands or anything. It's maybe a couple hundred. I've pretty much been able to fund myself. Besides obviously living expenses, I live at home, and I know not having to pay for anything like rent definitely minimizes everything. So that is not overlooked by me at all. I'm grateful that I can still live with my family and have that comfort, and have my mum do a lot of the housework for me still. So that's definitely not something that I forget easily. But besides that, everything that I use for Opal, health, enjoyment, food is all me. And so in case anyone's wondering, I don't know if it was just that person who blurted that out and thought that about me, but in case anyone else is wondering, nothing is funded by my parents that I want to do on my own. Because when that person said that to me last year, I was very taken aback that they thought that about me, particularly since we were close at the time. And it's just probably one of the rudest things that has ever been said to me. In my life, I've worked 13 jobs. I've had a lot of people who I even know in real life who think that I'm trying to be a full-time model and influencer, which is so not true. Casual jobs, internships, and full-time jobs together, and my side hustles too. Also, I don't want anyone to think that by tangenting off into this topic that I'm like really rich for someone my age. I'm really not. I think I might be over average, but only because when you're 22 and working a full-time job, most people at my age are still studying, because I would say the average degree length is 4 years. I did a 3-year degree. So I'm not saying this in terms of like, guess what? I actually have like a whole stash of money in my bank. So Cursed Child. I already knew that it was bad from all of the Harry Potter fan reviewers and YouTubers who I watch. I tried to go in with low expectations, which technically I did, but the story is terrible. And it's kind of like everyone says, the visual production side of it is amazing. I don't know how they did some of the effects. I think it was done really well. It makes no sense if you really know the Harry Potter lore properly. I know I'm actually geeking out right now, but I just love Harry Potter too much to let this slide. It was really not a good story, and everyone who's told me that it's seriously good are people who are just not really into it. Like, they're into it enough to be like, oh, I watched the movies, let's go watch Cursed Child, which is fine and it's cool. But as someone who's like a huge fan, it was so disappointing. I think Hogwarts Legacy, the new video game that's coming out in February,
is more true to the Harry Potter storyline than this one is, which actually involves the main characters, and Hogwarts Legacy is set like 200 years before Harry's time, so that's saying something. Turns out someone's impersonating me on Instagram, and I was waiting for the day this was going to happen. Trust me, I was always looking out for if anyone was taking anything similar to my username. And this person has stolen my profile photo and written a really crappy bio like, someone hacked my page, follow this one please, which really annoys me because I just think people need to do better things with their time. I don't know who this person is. I have reported them on all the accounts I'm signed into and blocked them as well. So if you're seeing this and the account is still up by then, please do me a favor, because what people don't know is that the more people who report, the more Instagram's likely to actually look into it, because we all know that they're really lazy and they aren't actually going to do anything. I've seen it happen with lots of people, especially content creators and models. I mean, we're the ones who put the most effort into our feed a lot of the time. I thought it would happen somewhere or another. It's just a bit of a rude awakening, considering that I am in a rush to get ready for Zeta and I'm in
Here's my
Interstate.
final look. I did a little bit of a darker shadow today, but whenever I try and put a little bit more effort into my makeup look, it just ends up looking natural anyway.
And here's my dress, which I'm sure a lot of you have seen me wear before. It's my go-to. I'm going to a nice restaurant, but casually, for no real occasion. With Maya, and it was so nice to finally see her after following her for a couple of years. And we had dinner at the Crown, Melbourne. We only had our Sydney Crown just a couple of years ago, so it was nice to see what Melbourne's one looked like. And then went back to her apartment just so she could change her outfit. And it was literally raining so much. The rain was going sideways. I'm so glad that I have my thickest winter jacket. And it was just insane to me that this was spring weather. And then after that, we met up with her friends and did an escape room, which we did not complete. And then went to a bar, and then went to a bar that has a dance floor. Like, it's not really a club. It's more just one of those places that has dancing. And I left at midnight. By the time I was actually home, it had been 45 minutes because about 8 Uber drivers cancelled on me. I was basically in their suburb that is very similar to Newtown, except just with way better nightlife. So I only just got home, took off my makeup, took out my contacts and showered. The bad thing about living alone that I realized that I would have to get used to if I did move out by myself would be that there's not a constant supply of food. I mean, obviously if I lived by myself, I would have some things in a pantry or something, but it's just very interesting because I'm so used to going downstairs and just getting whatever food I want. Whereas I would have to literally supply my own food. So I'm just eating this fairy floss till tomorrow, where Maya has kindly agreed to meet up with me for breakfast at this famous place called Lune Croissant. Even I've heard of it. And I got a text and it said that my flight was cancelled. And then it said that they would be trying to find a new one. And thank goodness, about half an hour later, they messaged again. And Qantas said that I'm on a flight that's 2 hours after my original flight. So now I'm going to be getting home at 6 p.m, which is obviously sad, but it's not like I have any plans. I just wanted to get home earlier, but now I can't. So it does mean I have more time in Melbourne.
This is so insane, but it's literally blue skies now. Considering the rain was going sideways yesterday, I'm very shook that I am waking up to some sun. I also had this really vivid dream that Bill proposed to me, and it was like the worst proposal that I could ever imagine. Like, the rings didn't fit. It was an infinity ring, which I hate, and all the people who were there were people I'm not close to, and it was like in front of a crowd of people instead of being private, and it was just a wreck. And I woke up thinking, oh my gosh, I'm like engaged, but then I realized I'm not, and thank God, because that proposal was really bad. I'm gonna tell him all about it so he knows exactly what not to do. Here's my breakfast outfit. It's really windy despite it being sunny, so I'm still going to be wearing my big jacket that I have. Melbourne was so good. I'm trying to fight nausea from my vertigo right now. I still have it,
but it's Monday, so I'm working from home. I just wanted to end this vlog off with a reflection on how it actually went. So nervous at the beginning. I was fumbling around at the airport. I was just acting really nervy, and by the end of it I was completely calm. I knew what I needed to do, and I feel like I really accomplished what I wanted to, which was just to gain confidence in traveling by myself. I didn't expect to be hanging out with friends as much as I did. I did expect to have more time alone, but I'm really glad that the friends that I made there were so accommodating and did accompany me throughout. So that was super nice of them. It honestly feels like it was 5 days packed into 2. It was crazy. I think it was the best trip that I could have asked for. So I'm so happy with how it went. I honestly really miss it. I did not want to leave. I still want to be there right now, just minus the vertigo. It was seriously such an amazing and fun way to spend my weekend, and just to help myself teach me some things, because now I feel more capable in going somewhere by myself. And I feel like it was a good step up from last year's one night stay. This was a really good next level, next step kind of thing, and I'm so glad I did it. So sorry for the low energy in this ending of the video. I just feel really nauseated from the vertigo, but thanks for watching along. I know it was a really long vlog, but I hope that you can see how much fun I had. If you're thinking of doing this yourself, do it.